There's one in here! He's coming!
This is important. We can get off the rig.
We are talking 2004's Parasite, also known as Hell's Mouth. This is directed by Andrew Prendergast and is a low-budget British sci-fi channel style movie that is very similar to a kind of Alien meets Leviathan sort of style film. Now, the story takes place on an unused drilling platform out in the sea, and a small group of technicians are sent there to try and test out a new cleaning enzyme which has been developed, and it's kind of experimental, although they kind of end up sort of messing the substance up, and it inevitably causes parasites to grow into ginormous sizes and attack anyone that is on this drilling platform. The proceedings are also messed up when a group of Greenpeace style terrorists attempt to expose this oil company for what they've been doing, and now these two groups of people kind of have to band together to try and fight against these monsters. What will happen? You'll have to watch the movie and find out. So let us discuss. This is the kind of a 2000 era CGI monster movie. We got a lot of these around this time, the advent of cheaper sort of CGI. Market was flooded with a variety of kind of made for TV and DVD monster movies. This is but one. What works in this movie's favour? Now, this, as I say, primarily takes place in a kind of oil rig. Now, it clearly wasn't filmed on any type of rig, but it was literally clearly filmed in some type of industrial factory or something like that. But it's a reasonable kind of substitute for a kind of oil rig with kind of all these sort of metal walls and tubes and things like this kind of going all over the place. So I do think the location shooting that they've used actually kind of looks pretty good, and I think it's a reasonable double for a kind of oil rig. Now, the movie's quite dark. The cinematography here is on the darker side, which is in itself somewhat of a negative in a way. But what the movie does do in the upswing is that the movie kind of hides a lot of the imperfections that you might have with a kind of a low budget. Obviously, they don't want to expose the fact that this obviously isn't an oil rig, but it also helps kind of hide these CGI monsters, because quite often they're kind of filmed in low light, in the shadows, and as such the kind of rudimentary CGI is somewhat kind of camouflaged, and you don't quite see the kind of the level of budget that this movie clearly is. So they've obviously thought about the how to kind of stretch the obviously low budget movie as far as they can to achieve a kind of a better looking movie than maybe you might think this film is. Now, I think the idea here of having two opposing sides, my enemy's enemy is my friend type thing, is an interesting one, where we have these different kind of ideologies, and it's obviously a kind of an ecological message in this movie. I think is makes for some fun kind of character interactions and opposing kind of ideals, and obviously the kind of the sheer terror of what's going on makes for some kind of human drama. So it does have a pretty good opening, actually, I would say, where we see these eco-terrorists kind of break into a kind of facility in kind of found footage style, which I think actually looks pretty good and kind of sets up the idea that what these kind of eco-terrorists are actually kind of like. And the kind of the monsters here range from kind of like snake-like eel creatures, and as the film goes on, we see they kind of get larger in size. And like I said, the CGI is rudimentary. There's no kind of getting around it. It's cheap 2004 CGI, but the designs are still kind of quite fun, and there are a couple of practical elements that they've used here. Slime kind of like coming down. There's a few sequences where we see like a dissection and stuff, and it's kind of done practically. So if you're not too picky in regards to the quality of the VFX, then you just want to kind of watch a, you know, low budget kind of creature feature, there is that. So let's now transition to what doesn't work in this film, and let's stay with these creatures. Now again, just to repeat, the CGI isn't good. I mean, it is cheap. It is kind of somewhat rudimentary, and obviously being in 2004, it's obviously clearly of its time, so it does kind of look like cartoon worms at times. So they do their best, as I say, to try and disguise the fact, but it's still somewhat apparent. But I think the more pressing issue, I think, if I kind of look past some of the clear budgetary restraints here, is that the fact that we don't see loads of our kind of creatures, and this movie does what a lot of sort of sci-fi channel movies do, or asylum movies, is they fill out the runtime with inflated human drama. You know, we have two opposing kind of sets of human characters. We have people with their kind of own agendas having kind of various either fights or romances and things like that. So the bulk of the running time is not kind of creature features, or not actual creatures on screen, but rather these kind of different kind of interactions with these human characters. Now that might be great, but this is a low budget, you know, silly movie which was kind of made obviously for a very cheap budget and clearly a kind of quite a short shoot time. And as such, the characterization is weak. The acting is subpar, and the dialogue is absolutely trite and horrible. So, you know, it can't hang its hat on having genuine kind of drama or performances, because it's all kind of very hokey, probably like exactly like you're going to expect here in this kind of type of movie. I mean, the dialogue itself is, you know, it's very, very silly. Let's just say that. And the budget was so low that even the director and the writer had to kind of fill in for kind of like bit parts in this movie because they just didn't have the cast. So yeah, it's obviously an extremely kind of like quick and easy kind of shoot in some ways in regards to kind of that. One aspect as well, which I found a little bit kind of more of a technical issue, is some of the editing here is very choppy, in particular scenes with the creatures, because it's very kind of quick edits. Again, I suspect down to budgetary reasons, you just get kind of flashes here and there rather than kind of protracted kind of sequences with these kind of creatures, you know, because they just don't have the budget to have them on screen very much. And there's not much in regards to kind of like gore or kind of scares and things like that. It's very much a, you know, somewhat sort of toothless monster movie in some ways, and it's utterly predictable. I mean, it's utterly predictable. We kind of get, you know, boo-hiss kind of human bad guys who you know are going to get some type of comeuppance, and it's obvious pretty much who is going to win and who, you know, who's going to kind of like get killed off by the end of the film. So overall, I think this movie is a below average film, to be honest with you. It's not a strong film by any sense. I think maybe it still has some entertainment value if you're kind of used to cheap CGI monster movies from the kind of the 2000 era. But overall, I've got to say, it doesn't really excel in any particular way, and ultimately the budget really cripples this movie and makes it, you know, somewhat kind of a dull affair all in all. I'll give it 83 out of 10. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Please do leave me a comment, and I shall look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.